I remember a time where I was lying in bed and finally, after the kids were all down for the night, I could feel my chest rising and falling really fast, almost like I was in the middle of the day, just going through a really difficult situation. And I was trying to rest, trying to wind down to fall asleep, but it felt like my body had just not gotten the memo. Isn't that such a really strange kind of very specific, frustrating, being physically exhausted and yet mentally wide awake at the exact same time? Your body is practically begging for rest while it's still acting like you've got somewhere urgent to be. So what do we do about it? Let's talk about it.
Welcome to Chronic Illness Moms. If you're more than just a tired mom, I'm talking trying to make it through the day without crashing by noon while raising neurodivergent kids, you're not alone. I'm Ashley, a wife, mom, and certified health coach. I have lived with autoimmune disease and flare-ups that made everyday life feel harder than it should. After years of pushing through and burning out, I learned how much stress, poor sleep, and nervous system overload were driving my symptoms. Everything changed when I started building small, realistic habits that actually supported my body instead of fighting it. In this podcast, you'll learn simple habits that help you to feel better. So pop in your earbuds and take a break from the chaos. It's you time.
I want to tell you about a season where I was doing everything that I felt like I could do to try to help myself feel better. Tracking everything, trying new supplements every time I heard someone recommend it, forcing myself through a morning routine that looked great on paper, and I still felt bad. I kept assuming I just hadn't found the right combination yet, that maybe one more tweak would finally be the thing that fixed me. It took me a long time to realize that the problem was not ever the protocol. It was that I was trying to follow a plan built for a body and a life that was not mine. That's what actually led me to build my Feel Better coaching the way that I did. It's 1 hour, and instead of me handing you a long list of things you should try, we find the one or two things that you need to focus on the most. And then we build one clear action plan for you that you can take right away to focus on to improve your health. I am not talking about a total life overhaul. This is something that you can do in a short amount of time each and every day. You can book your call at ashleybraden.com/coaching. That is ashleybraden.com/coaching. So the night I was telling you about where just lying there with my chest moving fast, just breathing rapidly, even though I was feeling completely still, my body was still, I wasn't up running around doing stuff. Has that ever happened to you? You feel like you're doing everything right. You put your phone away, the room is dark, it's cool in there, you got to bed at a decent hour for once, maybe even earlier than usual because you promised yourself that tonight was going to be different. And yet you still just lie there, wide awake. Maybe your mind is even quiet, but your body just will not settle. Your heart feels like it's working a little too hard for someone who's just lying there doing nothing. For a long time, I thought that was just a stress or a mindset thing. And to be fair, I do think some of that can play into that as well. Racing thoughts, the mental replay of the day, worrying about tomorrow, all of that is real. And I don't want to brush past that. And those are things we talk about in other podcast episodes too. But there can be a physical piece underneath that I just had not fully connected until I was working through, like I mentioned earlier, as I've been working through this certification that I'm doing. And it has to do with what your breathing is actually signaling to your nervous system, which is completely separate from what you are thinking about, in what your mind is thinking about. So you could have maybe a really calm, quiet mind and still be lying there with a body who has not gotten the "it's time to rest" memo because your breathing is sending a different message. Here's the thing that I really want you to sit with. Your nervous system, and we talk about your nervous system a lot, but it has two different settings essentially. So you have the alert, get things done, handle the crisis setting, and then there's your rest, recover, digest, sleep setting. And your breathing is one of the cues that your body uses to figure out which setting it should be in. So fast, shallow breathing up in your chest tends to go along with more of the fight or flight. The being alert is the breathing pattern that your body is going to reach for when it's managing something or solving a problem or staying ready for whatever is going to come next. Slow, deep breathing down into your belly. That typically happens when you're in that rest and digest. So you're out of fight or flight. You are in rest and digest. And this is the one where your body believes, hey, I'm safe. Everything is good here. It's okay for me to let my guard down and rest. So if you have spent your whole day breathing in that really fast, shallow way, tracking a ton of things at once, running that alert, like running on the alert setting, really from probably the second you wake up. And then you lie down at 10 o'clock and you expect for your body to just flip the switch into the rest mode because the lights are off and you're lying down. That's actually a lot to ask of your body. Your breathing has not given the signal to your body that it's safe for you to power down and to rest. So you can want to sleep like as much as like everything in you could want to fall asleep and still be working against yourself without realizing it, simply because the way you've been breathing for the last hour is telling your body, hey, we need to stay on alert. Something is going on. I think this is part of why bedtime can feel a little bit like you're flipping a switch that just won't flip. Like I'm trying to turn this light on and it will not turn on. It's not that you're doing something wrong. It's just that the signals that your body actually listened to, or one of the signals, there are others, it hasn't been sent yet. And one of those signals is how you're breathing. So your body doesn't just decide it's bedtime just because the lights are off. Part of that and how it actually knows it's time to rest is based off of how you're breathing. So the chest breathing is not going to give it that signal. The deep diaphragmatic breathing is. Okay, this is why fixing the breathing pattern, it shows up a lot in sleep research, even though it's not necessarily like this big, flashy, cool fix. What I have found just as I've been digging through all this stuff is there's been research where they took people who were struggling to sleep. They were dealing with insomnia, and they specifically taught them to breathe down into their belly, so breathe from their belly instead of from their chest before bed. They did not change anything else about their routine. No new supplement, no new sleep schedule, no morning sunlight, and their sleep measurably improved. Longer total sleep time, less tossing and turning through the night, just better quality sleep overall, and that was the only thing that they changed. So, yes, even though we can't say for certain that chest breathing alone was the whole problem, and I obviously don't know that it is, we do know that fixing this one piece on its own with nothing else added did help these people to sleep better. And honestly, for a lot of us who are living with chronic symptoms, that might be more useful. That might be a little bit more of a useful question anyway. So it's not necessarily like what is causing this, which sometimes doesn't have a clean answer. But the question we're saying is what actually helps right now tonight? And what could help you right now tonight is how am I breathing? What breathing pattern am I using? And what signal is it sending to my body? Okay, so this kind of connects everything we've talked about, I feel like, with this whole series. And it can explain a pattern that a lot of us, we're living in and we just don't realize it. So this is what I want to tie the all three parts together, because I think that this probably matters the most. If you're breathing in that fast, shallow chest way all day long, we know it is costing you energy, like we talked about in the first episode. You are working harder for less oxygen with every breath you take. It can show up as brain fog when your brain isn't getting the blood flow that it needs, like we talked about in episode 2. And that moment where you're standing in the room and you forget why you went there, or you forget what you were saying mid-sentence, all of that it can play a potential role into how you're breathing. And then at night, that exact same pattern can be part of why your body has a hard time winding down. Even if you're quiet, you're still, the house is quiet. These are 3 different symptoms, which can show up at 3 different times of the day. One habit can be connected underneath all of it, just running in the background without you realizing it, which for me actually felt a little bit like a relief to realize, because it meant I was not looking at 3 separate broken things about my body that I had to have to fix in 3 different ways. There was one pattern that I had not noticed that was going on throughout the exhausting stretch of my day. And once I could see it and become aware of it, I could actually do something about it with one deep intentional breath at a time. For those of us managing chronic symptoms on top of all of this, I really think that matters even more. because you're not failing at 3 different things, or you don't have 3 huge things that you're now having to try to fix. You are looking at one pattern that is not allowing your body to get what it needs. And I feel like when you're in that season where life is just crazy and you feel bad and you just want to feel better, whatever your habits look like right now, whether your days are shaped by school drop-offs or therapy appointments or homeschooling your kids, whatever that is, you have demands on your time and your attention that honestly, it rarely lets up. It's just a constant thing. And I feel like that pattern of life and that season of life, it makes it even more likely that you are probably falling into more of the chest breathing. And having this tool of, I can just slow down for a second and make sure I am breathing down into my belly, down into my diaphragm, that it's free. It's always available. And it is worth having in your back pocket. It is worth you realizing these are the various things that my breath and how I'm breathing can impact my health. And this is something free and easy that I can do in order to help myself to feel better and to get through the day. Okay, so here's what I want you to try tonight. Again, this is really small. That's what we focus on here. Small steps. So as you're lying in bed, before you try to fall asleep, put one hand on your belly and just breathe really slow, low breaths down into your abdomen for a couple of minutes. In through your nose, make sure if you can, put your hand on your abdomen and also on your chest so you can see, is my belly rising under my hand? And then let that exhale be longer than your inhale. Longer on the way out, so you're holding the exhale longer than you're holding the inhale. And I just want you to take a minute and picture yourself there tonight. Imagine yourself, the lights are off, the kids are finally asleep, your phone is across the room, you've got the room dark and cool, you settle down to sleep, you've got your hand resting on your stomach, and instead of just immediately closing your eyes and hoping that you're going to fall asleep, you just take a few minutes to breathe. Slow inhale, belly rising under your hand, longer exhale, letting go of that stress in your body. You are not performing relaxation or forcing relaxation. You're not trying to force your body into anything. You're just sending the actual signal that your body needs that it is safe now, that alert setting can be turned off and it is time for you to rest. Okay, so I want you to come tell me in the Facebook community how this whole series landed for you. So I'll have that link down in the show notes below, but I just would love to hear, out of all of this, which episode did you feel connected with you the most? The energy one, the brain fog, or this one, the sleep? And why? So why and what have you seen since you've been trying to be a little bit more intentional about what kind of breathing pattern you are using? Okay, friend, that is all for this episode. Again, you don't need a whole new nighttime routine, although there are other things we can do, and I have plenty of podcast episodes about those things. You just need your body to believe it's safe enough to rest. And one piece of that is how you're breathing. That is all for this episode. It wraps up the breathing series, and I hope that somewhere across these 3 episodes, whether it was that energy piece, brain fog, or today's sleep episode, that something clicked for you, that you feel like, I can actually carry that and use that in real life. Not just like one more thing that you feel like has to be done or it's on the should do list, but something that feels like an active tool that you can use and notice. All right, next episode, we're going to be talking about something new. So make sure that you tune in then. I'll see you next time. Hey friend, I hope you found today's episode helpful. If you did, would you take a minute to share it with another mom who's struggling with chronic symptoms? And leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It means the world to me to know this podcast is making a difference for you. All right, it's time for me to go tackle those snack requests, and remember that a short walk, even if the kids turn it into a race, still counts as self-care. Keep chasing those little wins. Even when it feels messy, you're making progress. The information shared in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your healthcare provider before making any changes to your health routine. I'm not a doctor, and this podcast is not intended to treat or diagnose any condition. You're the expert on your body. Listen to it and reach out to a trusted provider for support.